When they listed it in 1997, that was a mistake of appeasement. That needs to be reversed. It's not a Republican Party issue. It is not a Democratic Party issue. It is an issue of humanity. It's an issue of correcting an egregious wrong and doing what is right. And it is long overdue. The main perpetrators of the continuing pressure to keep the MEK on the foreign terrorist organizations list is the Ministry of Intelligence and Security, the MOIS in Tehran. I can tell you with a fair amount of authority, and I think the other speakers will back this up, the MOIS is, in fact, a terrorist organization. They should be on the list, not the MEK. Now, I've actually worked against MOIS agents overseas. I have experience in dealing with them, and am familiar to a degree with some of their methods. Now, unlike other civilized intelligence organizations from Western countries, and indeed even other countries in the region, the MOIS is not restricted in its efforts to undermine the credibility of the Iranian opposition. And they view the MEK quite clearly as a severe threat to the continued existence of their regime. So how do they undermine it? What are they doing? Well, they likely see the U.S. continued branding of the MEK as a terrorist organization, much to their benefit. It allows them, as the Honorable Mr. Kennedy has pointed out, to commit atrocities against their own people. They wish to keep that assessment intact, and they'll go to whatever they can, to whatever lengths they can, to propagate falsehoods about the MEK, both here in the United States and internationally. Accusations ranging from harboring weapons of mass destruction in Camp Ashraf, to training female suicide bombers, to attempting to bring down airliners. These were all propagated falsely by the MOIS. And when these allegations were proven false, not just by the United States, but by a range of countries and international organizations, the MOIS continued in their insistence. Now, you're all familiar with some of their techniques: kidnapping, torture, murder. And you're familiar with more egregious ones like that. But they do a subtle effort to influence the media, to influence policymakers, to influence other heads of state into adopting their lies. And quite frankly, that's all it is. It is a pack of lies. The MOIS conducts what we call in the intelligence business false flag. In other words, they pose as someone other than their true affiliation. They have posed as members of the Green Movement, most recently. They have posed as members of the MEK. And they do that so that they can stir up problems, they can stir up difficulties for host nations around the world, create bad publicity for the MEK, and blame it on the MEK. These are desperate acts from a desperate organization that only has one focus in mind, and that is to protect the legitimacy of the regime. Well, we know, as Mr. Kennedy has pointed out, and Governor Rendell, and Director Free, and you'll hear from Colonel Martin as well, that we know specifically the Iranians are responsible for the deaths of Americans in Afghanistan and Iraq. That attribution cannot be leveled against the MEK. I've looked at the declassified intelligence that was used throughout the past several years to maintain the MEK on the FTO. Now, it was declassified, some parts were taken out. Everything I saw in those reports, based on my nearly 30 years of experience, None of that indicated to me, even as Director Free has pointed out, none of that indicated in even a very slight degree that there was any credibility to the terrorist linkage to MEK. The MOIS is heavily involved in activities in the two theaters of war. They are actively involved in hunting down and discrediting, and worse, against members of the MEK, people in Camp Ashraf as well. It is a travesty of justice that it has been allowed to continue for as long as it has. Appeasement does not work with terrorist groups. It is time to be strong. It is time to stand up and do the right thing. Delist the MEK. Thank you.
Let me send my good wishes to our colleagues in Camp Ashraf. Salam, Camp Ashraf. We are with you. Let me tell you that I represent about 400 parliamentarians from what I consider to be the mother of Parliament, the British Parliament. And can I say to you that they stand with you too? The judge, the senior judge, one of the senior judges in our land, said that that prescription was perverse. It was one of the most remarkable statements made in a British court, to call a decision of government perverse. Now let me tell you, for a nation that I've always looked up to, the great United States of America, to uphold a listing which my country, the legal jurisdiction of my country described as perverse, is unacceptable of this nation. But what I say to Mrs. Clinton is send a message to that government. Send a message to al-Maliki. We, in free and democratic societies, will not put up with what you're doing. Let her, as a first step, deprescribe the MEK.
Ladies and gentlemen, I thank the opportunity to be here. I'll grab a quote from Edmund Burke. All that is necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing. It is a pleasure this morning to be with you doing something to correct a serious wrong. The serious wrong was placing the MEK on the list. That serious wrong continues by keeping them on the list. Keeping them on the list does not support security and liberty throughout the world. It supports the repressive Iranian fundamentalist regime. The MEK, they turned over their weapons. They accepted consolidation at Camp Ashraf. They renounced terrorism, even though they were not terrorists. They renounced it as I would renounce it, and they accepted the protected person status. If you want to see who the terrorists are, watch the videos. They're the ones wearing Iraqi army uniforms, killing innocent, unarmed people. We have 3 actions for solution. 1, let's get the MEK off the terrorist list. They never should have been there in the first place. 2, let's have the MEK secured by U.S. forces, and I am willing to put a uniform back on and go back over there and lead those forces. And let's move the Mojahedin out of Iraq to a secure location. To my friends at Camp Ashraf, I close with this message. We were together in the last decade. We will be together in this decade. We will be together always. Thank you.